put doctors and women in this place where they might have to, justify this afterwards in a criminal proceeding.
Some Tennessee lawmakers want to make changes to the state's restrictive abortion legislation. Good evening. I'm Kim Chapman-Whitfield.
And I'm Josh Rowe. Right now, there are a few ways for someone to get an abortion with doctor approval. They include when the mother's life is at risk or if, quote, serious risk of substantial, irreversible impairment of a major bodily function. If a doctor performs an abortion outside of those circumstances, they could face up to 15 years in prison.
And News Channel 9's Sam Pena joins us now. Sam, that last part in particular, we're wondering about doctors facing prison time, has some people concerned.
Yeah, specifically their concerns are about the law, which they believe is vague. They argue that the law needs to be upgraded to protect their careers and patients' lives.
That's not a fair predicament to put a physician in.
Those with healing hands asking for a helping hand.
So there was a lot of education that had to take place once Roe was overturned.
After the rollback of Roe v. Wade, Yarnell Beatty with the Tennessee Medical Association says doctors fear for their careers.
They're in a catch-22 situation where they have to weigh, am I going to commit a felony?
Beatty says Tennessee code does not provide an abortion exception. Instead, it provides an option called affirmative defense.
Affirmative defense is a legal process that can only be asserted once a physician is charged.
This Tennessee law says doctors can provide a defense of a performed abortion in cases when a mother's life is in danger, but that's after criminal charges are already brought against them.
In essence, that physician cannot practice medicine.
Beatty says charges alone can cost a physician their livelihood, potentially harming rural areas with few medical options.
That's especially bad in rural situations where you might have only one OB.
Fewer doctors and fewer hospitals, a concern after the Tennessee Justice Center says 16 rural hospitals closed in Tennessee since 2010.
And they would say anything in court to justify their action of taking the life of a little baby.
While Beatty says it can damage innocent doctors' careers, anti-abortion advocate Charlie Weissong says it closes loopholes that shouldn't exist.
There's always been a desire to get pro-lifers to make some concessions, but this is a moral issue.
But lawmakers are working to codify those exceptions.
Any physician who does these things can be charged. An exception means they will not be charged.
State Representative Gloria Johnson and Senator Jeff Yarborough say they're introducing legislation removing affirmative defense and installing a clear exception for abortions when a mother's life is in danger.
Our law is one of the worst in the country, and we have to do something to improve it.
They say putting the burden of proof on prosecutors, not doctors. Fitness, diet, and mental health, the three tenets to a long, happy life. In Chattanooga, a new report is showing the need for people to get up and moving through the scenic city. Sweat, music,
oh yeah,
and drive. The daily routine of personal trainer Kyle House, helping folks become their best selves.
Watching people grow and, take fitness in their own hands has been, one of my biggest passions.
But those efforts are challenging after a new report ranked Chattanooga as the 10th worst place for life expectancy in metro cities, citing major health disparities.
I just think the South really suffers from portion sizes and like a lot of processed foods and like excess sugars and things like that.
1243. Certain zip codes where you don't have access. If you try to get a healthy meal, good luck. And in the past few years, we've seen that Chattanooga has rated really poorly on healthy food access.
It's a problem Dr. Susanna Bazzone says starts with high prices and little education. She says low-income areas rely on city infrastructure and training to stay healthy.
We have to look at those highest risk zip codes and make sure that the built environment is nudging them to participate.
Infrastructure and education now a prime focus from the city health department.
There's a list of zip codes that we specifically were targeting.
Dr. Mary Lambert says the city's $3.4 million state grant is being used to end those disparities in Southside, Avondale, and East Chattanooga.
I don't believe I've ever seen a place as beautiful as Chattanooga. The mountain, the river, the parks. So why wouldn't you want to be out there exercising?
A step in the right direction, but one Kyle says needs help from the community to change lives.
Community is a huge thing and helps a lot of people strive.
New legislation that would repeal maximum class size is on the table. One advocate for teachers says this may do more harm than good.
We can assume that that is the goal, is to address the teacher shortage. This is not going to solve that.
A Senate bill looking to alter the way your child's classroom will operate is on the table.
It is seeking to repeal the maximum classroom size and teacher-student ratios that are at a statewide level.
And instead allow local school districts to establish the maximum class size for its schools. Jill Weitz with Unify Ed, a nonprofit educational organization, says this plan at face value would only add fuel to the fire.
If we have a larger classroom size, there's going to be less success for our students. There's going to be less individual attention, less individualized learning, less participatory, less hands-on learning, and there's going to be more disruption and more issues with discipline if we increase our sizes.
I brought those concerns to the Senate sponsor of the bill.
Do I want larger classes? No. Frankly, I think most of us would agree clearly that smaller class sizes are better, but also that the locality is the best to make that determination.
Right now, the state mandated average class size for grades K through 3 is 20. Hamilton County Superintendent Dr. Justin Robertson says they are below that with an average student to teacher ratio of 1 to 18.
As a district, we've consistently been well below what the state has mandated in terms of student teacher ratio. So we'll follow this legislation, see how it plays out, and make adjustments as we need. But giving us the decision.
Now, if a few folks go rogue and decide we're going to have a 100-person class, which is hopefully inconceivable, we'll dramatically change that law. I think they'll be respectful of it and with the intent of it as well.